Imagine your IT project is not going well. Are you dreading those awkward conversations about missed deadlines? But what if I told you that you could completely avoid those tough talks with a simple shift in how you communicate? And it's not about fancy negotiation tactics, it's about proactively managing expectations to completely eliminate the idea of project failure. After 12 years in IT project management, I've mastered the art of handling tough conversations. And imagine finishing a project without last minute firefighting, without panicked emails, and without getting blamed for surprises. That's what proactive planning can do for you. And in this video, I'll show you how to turn even a bad news into a project win. But before we dive in, ask yourself, is it ever too early to talk about potential issues in a project? Now, compare these two scenarios. James, a project manager, noticed a risk but hesitated. He feared looking incompetent, so he stayed silent. Weeks later, problems arrive. Unfortunately, the risk materialized, adding more work and causing delays. And at this point, James communicated the problem. However, it appeared that the client made other plans and commitments based on the initial deadline. This put clients in a dire spot in front of their investors and damaged the PM's credibility. In the second scenario, James identified potential problem early and brought it to the client's attention. And he did it even before writing an actual risk in the risk register. Now, let's assume the risk materializes in this case as well. But clients were informed and ready, so they adjusted their plans accordingly. The moral of the story is, the earlier you raise a problem, the less damage you'll cause. So, ask yourself now, how can I incorporate this idea into my project planning? But think about this approach first. Here's how a traditional project planning mindset works. You identify requirements, then scope, you do estimates, and after that, some risk management. When we get to risk management, clients and stakeholders get too attached to the features and capabilities they envisioned in the requirements. Therefore, they are more likely to take the risk to get them done. But don't stop analyzing here. A few weeks or even months from planning, when the actual risk happen, your clients will perceive it as a project management issue. Yes, your inability to manage the identified risks. That's exactly why applying proactive planning is much better. I've been applying proactive planning throughout my whole career. For example, there was a case with a new feature that customers wanted badly, but I noticed it creates lots and lots of different use cases that people will never use, but we need to implement and test. I raised my concerns early on, and customers said, "Yes, we thought about it, and you're probably right." And then they made a slight tweak in the requirements, which eliminated the risk altogether. And at this point, they were entirely open-minded and were willing to make the change. As you can imagine, we had multiple similar cases in different aspects of the project. Proactively addressing them early on saved a lot of trouble. Yes, it takes courage to speak up about your concerns when you have only gut feelings to support them. You know what? Hitting the like button takes a lot of courage as well. And if you find this video valuable, please do it now. Your support will allow me to help more project managers. Thank you. Before we move on to the ultimate communication strategy and proactive expectations management, I want to address one thing, because I almost hear your question. But what do you do when we are already in a situation where you need to renegotiate. Here you must apply empathy and imagine yourself as the project owner. What options do I have if the project is delayed or over budget? Obviously, I can fire the project manager and hire a new one. This will delay the project even further and doesn't guarantee that the new project manager will fix the situation. Honestly, the only scenario when a client will immediately fire the project manager is when you drag the problem to the point where there is no solution. But it means you have intentionally been hiding all project problems for months. That's why the only viable option for your client, the project owner, is to collaborate on a plan to help them save their face and still get the most value out of the project. So now it's a matter of finding an acceptable alternative plan. And it starts with data-driven communication. Because, first of all, you need to get accurate estimates for the case if we continue as we were. But you must never stop here. If you present just one option, clients will feel cornered. You need to identify alternative solutions that trade off different project aspects proactively. Again, use solid estimates to back your decisions. Imagine you are over budget, so instead of just asking for more money, you show data for alternatives. For example, if we simplify this feature, we can meet the deadline without extra costs. So you present the options and let them select the most suitable solution. And again, remember that project owners don't want the project to fail. They need a realistic plan to help them save their face and get acceptable results. But the whole idea is that you don't want to get into those situations at all. Instead, you want to proactively manage expectations even about your problems. This strategy is very simple. Whenever you feel a problem, speak up. Say something like, "There might be extra work here, I can't say for sure, but I'll check it with the team and get back to you with our findings." Later, when you do your due diligence, you may follow up and say, "Yes, there is a potential problem, we are monitoring it." You plant the seeds and prepare stakeholders for the impact well in advance. If the problem becomes more probable, you'll follow up again and say something, "Hey guys, remember the problem we discussed? Well, we think it's a risk. There is a potential impact of," and justify it with the data. Later you follow up again and say something like, "Yes, the risk is actually happening. We'll try to do this, and that to mitigate the impact." Let's assume the risk happened and made some impact. Here you will communicate, "We tried our best, we did this and that, but the risk still impacted us. Here are the alternative solutions we see at this point. Which one works for you?" At this point, usually customers may push back on you. They will ask you to try to keep to the initial deadlines anyway. And here you should give all the data, all the proof to the customers and say something like, "I tracked this problem from the start and I shared it with you. We did our best to avoid it. I can say that I'll try to meet the old deadlines, but my analysis and my data show that we should adjust the plan." With this whole communication chain, your clients will more likely consider you an expert and listen to your advice. But what usually happens is that clients and stakeholders actually help you to solve the problem in the process. However, even experienced project managers often overlook how powerful this strategy is, because the same strategy can be used to, for example, overcome unrealistic demands. Here's the catch. Stakeholders are often just unprepared to hear no to their new ideas right at the beginning. So you need to build up the case, collect the evidence, and use this proactive communication to make it much easier to convince them. But that's not all. In project management, we often encounter situations in which we know a real problem will occur in the future. And maybe that's because of inefficiencies of your organization or your team. So, if you have enough time to build this communication chain, you may want to use this approach instead of alerting project owners right away or waiting for the disaster to happen. As you can see now, this is a very powerful communication strategy, so I really hope you will not abuse it just to cover your back. But after 12 years of managing IT projects, I've learned one thing. Most of issues that we discussed in this video come from poor requirements or inefficient scope identification. When you don't have a proper workflow for scope identification, you end up with lots of ad hoc decisions, endless meetings, and problems. If you want to master project scope management and avoid disasters before they happen, watch this video next. I'll break down exactly how to ensure you build the right thing without stress. Click the video now, I'm waiting for you there.